We're going to go from one Guardians guest to another after a quick word from FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And with that, we are thrilled to welcome in Justin Lada, host of the Locked On Guardians podcast, to give us some more baseball takes on tonight's Guardians versus Angels matchup here on WK.
What's up, Justin? Loving the Jim Thome pennant, by the way, behind him. That's a nice touch. Very nice touch. Justin, we were talking a little bit with Curtis about this. I don't know if it's a general perception, but I've heard a lot of fans over the last week just continually say, yeah, the Guardians just don't have it this year. They're not going to compete, which is odd to me because over the last 7, they had 4 with Detroit and 3 with the Dodgers, and collectively they won 4 of those 7 games. That's a pretty good record against teams that look like they're definitely World Series caliber teams. What's your assessment through 55 games on what the Guardians have done, and what do you think their ceiling is realistically for the season?
Yeah, it's a good point you brought out. That was a really tough stretch they went through, and they played pretty well. I mean, taking 3 or 4 on the road from the division leader in Detroit, who's been a hot pick for everybody this year. That was a really nice surprise. Didn't think they were going to be able to do that, but it has been an inconsistent year, right? Like Tanner Bybee started the year off with the food poisoning, couldn't even make his opening day start, and Ben Lively had to make it. He pitched okay, but guess what? Now Ben Lively's gone, and we thought we were going to see a lot of breakout potential in Gavin Williams in spring training. There was a lot of hype around him. It's been an inconsistent start for him this year. Luis Ortiz is still kind of working through it too. We see the flashes of the stuff, but it hasn't quite been there yet. Logan Allen's still trying to get it together. Now they've got to integrate Slade Ciccone in that rotation, who also dealt with an injury. And I think you also saw that the bullpen has had some inconsistencies from a year ago. We had some blips from Manuel Clase to start the year. Tim Herron's been a little bit up and down. The bullpen hasn't been as dominant as it was a year ago. It's still pretty good, but they've lost some pieces there. And yeah, overall, Kyle Manzardo had a great start. He's been struggling lately, and they haven't really figured out shortstop. They haven't figured out right field. Lane Thomas has been hurt. So, yeah, it's been a very inconsistent year. I think the fact that they're 30-25 at this point and they haven't really played their best baseball is a good thing, as long as they can kind of clear up some of those inefficiencies they have.
Justin, are you giving up on Arias yet?
No. Some of that, they just don't have a better option, right? They already worked through Brian Rocchio, and they told me he had to go to AAA and kind of work on everything. And he's hitting better in AAA, but I don't know how sustainable that is. You're still getting really good defense from Gabriel Arias. You were getting a lot of inconsistency and some errors from Brian Rocchio. Arias is the best defensive shortstop this team has had. I know Rocchio's numbers were good last year, and he was a Gold Glove finalist, but there were still some weird things that stood out in that profile overall. So you're still getting really good defense from Arias. You're getting the occasional power. I think he's shown a little more plate discipline. I think he's always going to be a streaky hitter. But I think not being done with Gabriel Arias kind of means more right now that they just don't have a better option, so you really can't be done with him.
Justin, Jay's been screaming about the 2-hole hitter since March. Who, in your mind, should be the 2-hole hitter on this team?
Ideally, it would be Jose Ramirez. I think that's what people have been saying.
Oh, Jay's going to
leave Justin, his body. I was really digging everything you were saying, and then you went to Jose Ramirez, who's the pillar of this offense.
There you go.
Make your case.
That's why he should be hitting number 2. I know.
Okay, who hits 3, 4, and 5? That scares you.
Yes. It's not ideal. They don't have a really good option right now. I think in light of the fact they don't have a better option, it should be Jose Ramirez. You have an opportunity to get him maybe an extra at-bat in a game, and you have the opportunity for him to maybe come up a little bit more with some runners on, and I think you just want to have Jose Ramirez up more. And you put that 1-2 of Steven Kwan and Jose Ramirez together, that's really lethal. I think that's part of why they put Bo Naylor there, because they were trying to find someone to work the count and see a lot of pitches. Same with Nolan Jones. There just isn't really a perfect option if it's not Jose Ramirez. Now, I understand, Jose Ramirez is not the most comfortable in the 2 spot. He likes hitting 3, and it's working in the 3-hole. And he is the guy who is most important to your offense, maybe right along with Steven Kwan. So you don't want to, upset the apple cart a little bit there by doing that. You need to get the best out of Jose Ramirez every single day in order to win. Ideally, it would be him if this was a deeper lineup, but I agree, they don't have a really good spot. They're going to keep trying other options there. I think Anel Martinez is a good fit, but he also has a very aggressive approach at the plate that kind of takes away from what the two-hole guy could do.
I hear that because I'm big. I'm Anel Martinez. I'm done with it. It's easy. I know he has been in a bit of a slump, but he's proven to me that he's an everyday Major League Baseball player. His hit Wednesday against the Dodgers snatched a victory from the jaws of defeat. That one felt over. It just did. It felt over. You're just like, they're not going to, especially when Hershiser wasn't pitching well. Hershiser.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Boy, I'm showing my age.
Right.
Kershaw wasn't pitching well. I think he'd scattered like 8 or 9 hits, but they only had 1 run, and I'm like, this isn't going to be the day because they don't have a guy that can get a big hit. And then all of a sudden, just when you're starting, I'm counting outs at that point. I think they were 4 outs from defeat. Bam! He hits this mammoth home run. I know you're not going to get a lot of power out of him in that spot. I don't need a lot of power from him out of that spot. Here's what I need out of my two-hole guy. I do need him to be more patient. You're absolutely right there. But that's something that you can give him to make him work on. He is too aggressive. He's got to see more pitches. But when you fire Quan and Jose at 1 and 2, I'm just speaking from a pitcher's perspective. I watched the game from the pitcher's mound. I'm not worried about anybody. After that, I'm not. Manzardo, he's gonna fall into one, and he's gonna take you deep a time or two. But he's like a 200 hitter right now. That's not good enough. That doesn't scare me. There's nobody else. Santana has got the potential to do something, but he's so hit or miss. I just think that you need Jose in the 3 spot, and you've got to figure out that 2 with someone other than him. And I don't know who it's going to end up being, but I was really stunned. I know that you said Bo Naylor sees a lot of pitches, but putting Bo in that spot, I mean, he was 0 for 8 with 5 strikeouts in the 2-hole, which is exactly what I expected. I couldn't believe it when I looked at the lineup and saw Bo Naylor was in the 2-hole. So it's a problem. Maybe a Lane Thomas or a David Fry when they come back. I don't know that you want to put them that early in the lineup, but I know what it doesn't look like. And to me, it doesn't look like Bo Naylor, and it shouldn't look like Jose Ramirez because he's the pillar of my offense. I just need him later. And I know that the Yankees, and you see Aaron Judge leading off, and when you're the Dodgers, you have the luxury of leading off Shohei Ohtani. You can do that with teams like that because you have plenty of other bats to filter in down the lineup. The Guardians don't have that luxury, so I just don't want to fire my best bat in the 2nd spot and then give pitchers a 7-hitter stretch where they don't have to worry about stuff.
Yeah, that's fair. That really speaks to the issues the Guardians have. It's not a very deep lineup. In the playoffs, it really worked having David Fry and Kyle Manzardo hitting second last year, and they need Manzardo to play more of a run creation role or a run driving in role in the cleanup spot, and he obviously has struggled a little bit. I don't know where David Fry fits in. I feel like it's going to be a very awkward fit because he can only DH right now, and he kind of becomes a platoon guy, and you're already carrying Manzardo and Santana, who are first base DH only. So that makes David Fry kind of an odd fit as much as they need him, and he was a big help for this team last year. I don't know how they fit him on the roster, truthfully, thinking about it. And Lane Thomas, I don't know if anybody here has had plantar fasciitis, but I know people who have, and we've seen it around baseball. Not good. That's not a great thing. So I don't know how things are going to shake out for him. Obviously, he'd be the ideal 2-hole hitter because he does take some walks, and he has power. That would be a good fit, but things have not been good for Lane Thomas when he's been healthy, and he hasn't played well when he was healthy, and now he's not healthy. I would like the idea of moving Carlos Santana up. I know Carlos Santana is not what he used to be, and he's 39. You have to be realistic about that. But in that World Series year in 2016, he became their leadoff hitter, and Francisco Lindor hit third, and they had to figure out the 2-hole. I think Santana's a guy who sees a lot of pitches. Maybe you don't hit Jose Ramirez second, but maybe you move Santana up somewhere in the lineup. I'd be better with that. Super comfortable in the 2-hole. Yeah, it's a guy who sees a lot of pitches. I mean, could you get away, or could you be comfortable with moving Steven Kwan down to the 2 spot and letting Carlos Santana try to walk at the top of the game? And Kwan really does have a lot of the qualities you like in a 2-hole hitter, right? He's patient. He makes a ton of contact. He can run. That's kind of the old school number 2 hitter. Maybe he'd be a better fit there if you can slide Santana back into the leadoff role, and that's something he could kind of recapture from what he's done in the past. But that's, again, it's not perfect because the lineup is lacking a lot of depth right now.
Justin, we have 2 minutes. I'll fire a double question, and I know I shouldn't do that, but we've got to go. So I'm going to ask you about some guys in the minor leagues. First of all, DeLauder, what are you hearing? Are we going to see him this year? And the other is Travis Bazan. We're talking about him in the WKYC show at 12:30 because he's dropped in Keith Law's player prospect rankings. Do you feel like the arrow has swung downward on Travis Bazan? Remember, he was the number 1 overall pick, and the organization had super high hopes for him. And I know he's hurt now, but Bazan and DeLauder, if you would, just address those quickly.
Yeah, DeLauder, it's going to take some time for him to build up. He's only playing 2 out of every 3 days, and he actually sat twice this week. So I don't think there's going to be an immediate push to get him up here. I mean, he's hitting when he's in the lineup, which is great, but I think there is going to be a thoughtful build-up for him, given his injury history. They've got to ramp up the volume for him, so it could probably be another 3 weeks to a month, depending on how things are shaking out in right field for the Guardians. I do think there's a good potential to see him this year. I think they almost have to see him this year. He would have been up by now if he was healthy, truthfully. And as far as Bazan is concerned, yeah, there's been some issues with contact quality and just where he's making swing decisions. There is some concern about, I know Keith Law said the swing is a little bit steep. That's something he addressed last offseason going into his final college year, was trying to get the ball in the air to his pull side a little bit more to take advantage of more power. You might have to make some adjustments in pro ball because pitching is better, pitching is different. But a lot of his issues, too, I think, come from passivity. He's a very patient hitter, almost patient to a fault. So that's something I think also has to be addressed. And, yeah, defense is a work in progress with him. But I think the biggest thing to remember about Travis Bazan is that the work ethic and just how inquisitive he is and how smart he is, I don't have any concerns about whether or not he's going to make any improvements that he needs to reach his full potential. I have no concerns about that when he gets healthy. It's just going to be a matter of knocking that oblique injury out because those can linger, and then he's got to come back and make those adjustments. But he was still performing at a pretty good level despite those issues, truthfully.
Yeah, I was fine with what he was doing, at least numbers-wise. I don't see him every day, so I don't know about the swing angle and the steepness of it and all that, but I trust Keith Law for sure. Justin, thanks. We appreciate you coming on and helping us out with the Guardians. Justin Lada of Locked On Guardians. Thanks, man.